XRP just hit some major support levels. I'm going to tell you who predicted these support levels a month ago and what he predicts is going to happen in the short-term future. That's right, the price of XRP is expected to go up, but only after the second wave is completed. So what's the second wave? I'm going to get into that in this video. And according to a recent poll, 42% of Texans say they would be in favor of making Bitcoin a legal tender. I'm going to get into my thoughts as to why that's actually happening in Texas. And in order for XRP to actually hit these levels that may be predicted, there's going to have to be some strong push by Bitcoin and the rest of the crypto market, because right now, everything is still coupled. So we're going to take a look at a few on-chain dynamics that suggest an interesting play out for the remainder of the year. Because there's still some people saying the end is near, and some people saying, oh, no, the best is yet to come. Hey everyone, my name is Randy and welcome back to the Late Night Grind. And right now on this channel, I'm covering the case of Ripple versus the SEC, but I'm also covering other cryptocurrency news, investment markets, personal finance. So if you want to follow any of those topics, make sure you hit the subscribe button, the bell notification icon, and if you want to support a channel like this, best thing you can do, hit the thumbs up button and watch the video all the way to the end. Those are the two best things that you can do to support a YouTube channel. And I also firmly believe that people in the crypto space are some of the most generous people on the planet. So if you're feeling generous today, if you go ahead and do that, I'd greatly appreciate it. All right, guys, well, let's jump into it. So first, I wanted to talk about that poll that was recently taken that suggested that 42% of Texans would be in favor of making Bitcoin legal tender. Now, obviously, El Salvador just did it and made it official, and there's several other South American countries where they're in the works of actually trying to push that through their own Congress and make Bitcoin legal tender in their countries. But Texas, that's a little bit different. So why would Texas be so incredibly bullish on something like cryptocurrency where it seems like the rest of the financial world is a little bit more hesitant, especially if you're with a government entity? However, in my opinion, I think that Texas is a lot more accepting of cryptocurrencies and new technologies simply because of what's been happening in Texas over the past 10 to 15 years. I recently read an article that Austin, Texas is actually becoming one of the hubs of new tech companies and new startups. It's one of the places that makes it easy for those types of companies to begin. Now, that's been happening over the past 10 to 15 years, and even more recently, since China banned Bitcoin mining, a lot of those mining rigs actually ended up in Texas, specifically near Austin, as Texas is now becoming one of the hubs of Bitcoin mining centers. Now, a couple of those reasons are cheaper renewable energy. Solar is very big. Just energy in general is a lot cheaper down in Texas. And of course, when you combine that with cities that are growing and are more tech-friendly and tech-savvy cities, typically you're going to end up something like this. So it just kind of makes sense to me that, yeah, I can see absolutely 40% of Texans adopting Bitcoin as a legal tender, not necessarily replacing the dollar, but still making it an accepted form of finance. All right, so now I'm going to get into the price predictions of XRP because Dark Defender on Twitter, who has put some extremely scary, accurate price predictions on XRP over the last couple of months, has just made essentially another one. Now, he was talking about what's called an Elliott wave theory, which is basically a technical analysis theory based on price movements and things like that. So what I did was looked at his predictions along with some on-chain analytics and some on-chain analysis by guys like Willy Woo and Will Clement, and kind of merged the two together to see what they're saying. Now, in order for a big upswing on XRP or really any other coin, Bitcoin, the rest of the crypto market, specifically Bitcoin, is going to have a big end of the year push. So I'm going to talk about what some of the underlying fundamentals are showing for the end of the year or the rest of this market cycle, and then talk about what Dark Defender said about XRP's coming price. So in order for a continued bull run, there's some people saying that the end is near, that the peak has already happened, 65,000. Or just under 65,000 was the peak for Bitcoin, and we're going to be basically trending downward for the rest of the year into a bear market until the next cycle. And there are others that are saying, nope, this is was just a corrective pullback, and we're about to go parabolic because the on-chain metrics suggest something different. In fact, they suggest that right now is looking more like a time frame like it did in October and November of last year. But then on the other side, you have I read an article from Cointelegraph where the writer was suggesting that Bitcoin and the rest of the crypto market follows kind of what the S&P 500 does. And if that's the case, they see the S&P 500 having some very dark days in the coming days and weeks as correction hits that market. because a risk asset like Bitcoin or cryptocurrencies also feel the pinch when things like that happen. Now, occasionally that is right. One of the biggest was from last year. In March of 2020, when Bitcoin went from 8,000 down to about 4,000 in one day, that was right around the time when all of the COVID lockdowns had actually been announced. And pretty much every market around the world did the same thing right around that time. So there are certain actions that pretty much every index in the world hits the same way initially, but its reaction after that is what differentiates Bitcoin in this crypto market from a lot of the other indexes. So what happened after that? Well, after it went to 4,000, it quickly went back up to about 5,000 or 6,000, and then proceeded to pretty much explode until here we are now. Because others see Bitcoin as a risk asset, and yet there's a very large growing number of people that see Bitcoin in the crypto space as a risk not to have asset. So when we look at some of the on-chain fundamentals, things like Bitcoin's supply shock ratio, which suggests long-term holders are holding more Bitcoin and they're holding it for longer, suggests that there's less and less Bitcoin available for sale, which generally drives the price up. The on-chain metrics support that. The Bitcoin ST oscillator, which is another form of fundamental that basically shows the same kind of thing, shows that the oscillator is at the low end of the scale right now, which typically signals that there's an upswing coming, and when it hits the peak of the oscillator, usually the peak of the market or the peak of the Bitcoin price happens shortly after. And right now, that oscillator is on the extremely low end, just starting to point upwards. So Bitcoin needed to continue its bullish movement for the end of the year, for the end of this market cycle, possibly into next year, is going to be needed for what XRP could be doing next. Now, not necessarily that Bitcoin has to peak in order for XRP to hit these certain near-term prices, but Dark Defender on Twitter tweeted out what he tweeted out a month ago when he predicted that XRP's second wave lower level metric was around 83 to 93 cents. And he was extremely accurate because guess what? Earlier this morning, XRP could have been bought for 86 cents. Now, granted, it was only for a very, very short period of time, but nonetheless, it hit specifically in the areas that he had predicted over a month ago. So what he just tweeted out was that Wave 2 is confirmed. Now, the Elliott wave theory that he talks about is a trading strategy, a trading theory that goes along with the different price movements. So wave 2, meaning it was a downward wave 2, where XRP hit 86 cents and has rebounded a little bit up to about 95 cents at the time of recording. So as of right now, he says wave 2, it's not confirmed that wave 2 is finished. It could go lower. We'll see. And it might actually take several weeks to confirm whether wave 2 was completed or whether it's still going to go lower. But in any case, once that capitulation changes and we head into wave 3, which in the Elliott wave theory, the wave 3 is the largest of all the waves where the biggest price movements actually happen, suggests some amazing prices for XRP. Now, his time frames were a little bit off in his prediction because he had actually suggested a shorter time frame, but that just goes along with my theory that this market cycle is an elongated market cycle. Things are happening much slower than they did in previous ones. But just with his mid-range analysis, he's predicting a price of $6.39 when this wave 3 actually comes to fruition. Like I said, that's the middle prediction. I believe the low end was somewhere around $2.50 to $3. The high end was somewhere around $16, $17. But like I said, I don't think that was the blow off top peak of the market for XRP. That was just for the near term. The other thing that could change this is what's going on with the case with the SEC. It very much looks like it is going in Ripple's direction. And if you watch a lot of my other videos, I have all kinds of updates, so you can go check out some of the cards, some of the videos that I'll link up here towards the end of the video, and you can check out some of the latest information on that, or make sure you follow me on Twitter. Some of the most up-to-date information I tweet out and retweet out pretty much ongoing throughout the day, so I'll put that in the link in the description below. You can follow me there, as well as some of the technical analysts that I follow as well, and some of their predictions. But if you want to make sure you follow all of these topics, you always want to make sure you're subscribed to the Late Night Grind channel. And as always, thanks again for watching all the way through. Thanks for giving it the big thumbs up. And as always, I'll see you guys on the next video.